like riding on sunny days, hit the like and subscribe button. Good morning, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are, YouTube. So in the previous video, a couple of videos back, with the CBR going for its MOT, I mentioned that I was going to be doing some videos for newer riders. So really, the first one I can kind of do without actually getting off the bike. And it all comes off the back of a question that was asked to me on Messenger from a friend of mine over in Holland, or Netherlands. And he was asking me, he'd had his first motorcycle lesson, and he was asking me, Phil, said, I had my first day of lesson, I really enjoyed it. I really love the look of cafe racer style bikes. Said, is this a good bike for me to get? Will this work for me? And this really is one of those questions that I don't believe there's a lot of very accurate information for from new riders. Because frankly the answer is no, it's not really ideal. When you're choosing your first bike, of course you've never generally ridden before, you don't really know what pros and cons are of different style bike. So you tend to go with the ones that you like the look of, as opposed to ones that might work well for a first time rider. And this is where the cafe racer falls down. Any forward canted bike, like a cafe racer or a race replica or anything like that, or even a sports bike, is a little bit harder to manoeuvre at slow speeds, and looking over your shoulder is a little bit more restricted as well, because you're not in an obvious position to do that. So really the advice for that sort of thing is don't take preconceptions with you. Have a think about it. You're going to be doing your test on this bike quite likely, and one of the things the examiner's going to want to see is clear evidence you're A, using your mirrors, and B, looking behind you a lot, because there's observations everything on a bike. So a bike which makes it inherently more difficult to look around is going to put you at a little bit of a disadvantage, both in learning the road skills required and your general confidence on the bike, and also in passing the test. So really for me, first time rider's bike boils down to a couple of choices. First one, how tall are you? No point going out for a KTM motocross style bike if you're 5'2". You're not going to touch the floor. That's going to give you reservations when you come to stand still. It's going to make it a lot harder for you to touch the floor, to be comfortable. But there are a lot of really good, what you term, I suppose, roadster style, not really cruisers, roadster style bikes out there. Good example of which is the Honda CBF 125. It's a general all-purpose half-faired bike. It's got a little fuel-injected air-cooled engine. It's affordable, it's incredibly reliable, cheap to run, but because it's upright, you're able to look round a lot more. It's not particularly big, so you're going to be able to touch the floor comfortably, and it's going to make a good choice. There's also plenty around second hand, and they don't attract the thrasher hooligans either. So the odds of finding a good one 3 or 4 years down the road are still quite high. Try and find a good race replica 125 that's 5 years old. It will have been down the road several times. Now if you're taller and you feel like you're dwarfing something like a CBF, the Supermoto and particularly the motocross style bikes really come into their own. The reason for this is, aside from the fact that you're nice and tall and upright, you've got a good commanding view of the riding position and you're not going to be cramped up on it, you've got a little bit of space to shuffle around and find a position that makes you feel comfortable. And also you've got the advantage that you can now use it for something else, because let's face it, 4-stroke 125s are simply not very quick. None of them are. Even the fastest ones, the Aprilias and things like that, are simply not very quick. They've all got the same amount of power, they've all got about 15 horsepower, so they all go about the same speed. There's only limits to what that will do, and a quick 4-stroke 125 does mid-70s. So frankly, if you're going down a country road and you're virtually flat out, it's not the greatest look. Whereas if you're on a trail bike kind of shaped machine, performance is less critical, but also you then got the option of going green laning, and some of these 125s are actually incredibly capable. They're light, they've got a wide spread of power, and they're really ideal trail irons, so to speak. So they can have a really useful second life past being learner fodder, and that really is going to give you a whole new dimension to your biking. And anything that makes your biking more interesting is going to keep you engaged and make you want to come back for more all the time. So yeah, the upright bikes, be it the roadster style like the CBF 125, Yamaha have their own version out as well. All the manufacturers offer that kind of machine. Really is going to be a good option. The sports 125s, the R125, the CBR 125, things like that, in my opinion, and this is only my opinion, this is certainly not fact, but in my opinion, don't make as good a purchase. Some of them are extremely expensive. I mean, some of the Aprilia ones are the RS125 are now in excess of £4,000. That's twice the price of a CBF 125. They depreciate reasonably heavily as well, because the ultimate fun factor is, aside from going around corners very quickly at low speeds, which probably isn't something a learner should be indulging in too much, is they're just not any faster. But the cornering brings us back to another point. If you're on one of these 125 sports bikes, if you're buying it new, you drop it at low speed, or you slide off on a roundabout, or you have a spill, the repair costs are going to be much higher, and that is reflected in the insurance as well. And it only takes a very low speed spill to write off all those plastics and leave you with a £1,000 bill quite easily. Now you've got the option to either, when you come to sell your bike, you sell it with the damage on it, which is going to seriously devalue it and make it a lot less attractive to new buyers, which will lose you so much money, or you pay a fortune to have it repaired, and very quickly you can dispose of a much larger sum of money than perhaps you'd banked on, and that's not going to be an encouraging start to your biking career. And yeah, they suffer because of what they are. They don't have the power to be a fully fledged sports bike, so the only ace card they have is the handling. The riders don't really have the experience to take advantage of that. So in my book at least, I'm not thrilled, and I don't see the advantage. Also bear in mind that when you're buying your first bike, whether it's a roadster type or a sports bike or whatever, factor in the cost of clothing. If you've got £3,000 to spend, don't go out and spend £3,000 on a bike. You obviously, by law, in many countries, UK being one of them, America it varies state to state, will need a helmet. Even if the law does not command you to use a helmet, use one. It's absolute suicide to ride a bike not wearing a helmet. It just doesn't make sense. Frankly, if you're a new rider and you're thinking, no, I don't really want a helmet, if you're not viewing that as critically important, stop right there, give up and go and take up stamp collecting, because it ain't you and ain't your freedom. It's what happens to you, the people that have to pick up the mess, your family. You know, just have a thought for those around you. There's just no excuse to not ride with a helmet. It's not cool. It's not about freedom. It's about common sense and respect for other people. Rant over on that subject. But yeah, I mean, a roadster type bike, you'll find textiles are very good. They've got a very good operating range. This is probably going to be regular transport for a lot of new riders as well, which is a good way of getting experience. But textiles will often have vents you can open in summer and linings that zip out to give you a bit more coolness, and can often have very thick linings for winter, so you do get a garment that will work regardless of the time of year. And that's not as true for leather. However, leather is obviously the traditional choice. It's what bikers have always worn up to the dawn of textiles. It generally can be a little more comfortable because it tends to fit a little bit more snugly, which conversely actually makes it more comfortable because it doesn't flap about in the breeze. And also, it tends to be sometimes a little bit cheaper. A good two-piece textile suit can run you £200 for a jacket, about between £150 and £200 for the trousers, whereas a pair of decent almond leather jeans can be picked up for around £100 or just under £100, which is really good value for money protection. So on a roadster type bike like the CBF 125, I think my general advice for a first time rider would be go with leather jeans, obviously boots as well, and then go with the textile jacket. Then you've got more control over temperature without breaking the bank, and you can either, if you want to, depending which way you want to go, add leather jeans, leather jacket to it to make it a two-piece leather suit, or you can then go with adding the textile trousers to it to go with all the textiles. One-piece leathers, such as I'm wearing now, they're a double-edged sword. As I said in one of my previous videos, I actually have two sets, one without the perforations and one with. This is the perforated suit because it's a lovely warm evening. But if this was 10 degrees instead of 20 degrees now, I'd be freezing. So, as you can see, it doesn't move about in the air, it doesn't flap about, which makes it extremely comfortable to ride the bike with. It does make it a little more limited in what it will do. So probably best to save those for a little later on in your biking life. The next couple of videos we're going to have is going to involve some little maintenance tips and things, again, that it's very hard to get decent advice on. Things like how, why and when to lube and adjust your chain, how to spot signs that something's not quite right, a few other little bits and pieces which will be of real benefit to new riders. If there's anything you want to see discussed, please do mention it in the comment section. And do hit the like and subscribe buttons as well. So we're going to have a few more of these. The next video is probably going to be a sort of workshop based one, where I'm going to go through some of the do's and don'ts and just how to do the basics, because even things like checking your oil level is a little bit different to how it is in a car. So the things you do need to know, but if you try and ask on some of the forums, oh, how do I check my oil? They say, oh, and you get every comedian, every silly question under the sun, and then not get a decent answer out of it. And that's something you don't want to do, just ride straight over a down car. If you like riding on sunny days, hit the like and subscribe button.